stop for a moment. If your blood sugar has been rising even though you are doing everything you were told to do, what I'm about to explain may change the way you look at your health completely. For years, I have spoken with adults who follow every recommendation carefully. They take their medication, they limit certain foods, they monitor their numbers, and yet their glucose readings continue to move in the wrong direction. Many of them quietly begin to wonder if they are doing something wrong. But here is the truth I want you to hear clearly. You are not failing. And most of the time, your body is not working against you either. In many cases, people are simply focusing on the wrong variable. Right now, at this very moment, there is a strong chance that your cells are not responding to insulin the way they used to. And surprisingly, this may have less to do with what you ate today, and more to do with something incredibly basic that is often overlooked: hydration. Not just how much water you drink, but how your cells are able to use that water. This simple factor can influence how glucose moves from the bloodstream into the cells where it is actually needed. And when the internal environment of the body is not properly hydrated, even the most disciplined routine can become much harder for the body to manage. My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm a senior health advisor here at the Vital After 60 channel, and my goal is to help you understand practical, science-based habits that support your health as you get older. What I'm about to explain today is not complicated, and it is not experimental. It is basic physiology that many people simply never hear explained clearly. By the end of this video, you'll understand why fasting glucose often becomes less predictable after the age of 60, how hydration timing can influence insulin sensitivity, why the temperature of the water you drink may affect your morning readings, and how a simple daily hydration structure may help your body respond more efficiently without forcing you to add more restrictions to your life. This information is not about replacing medical treatment. It is about supporting the internal environment that your treatment already depends on, and that distinction is important. Before we continue, if calm and practical guidance about healthy aging is helpful to you, consider subscribing to the Vital After 60 channel. Many of our viewers are over 60 and looking for realistic ways to support their health without extreme approaches. If something in this video resonates with you, you can also write the word "approved" in the comments, so I know this information reached the people who need it. Now let's talk about something that almost no one explains clearly: why hydration becomes dramatically more important as we age. Most adults over the age of 65 are mildly dehydrated on a regular basis. And what makes this surprising is that many of them do not feel thirsty at all. This is not simply an opinion. It is something that has been measured repeatedly in aging populations. And mild dehydration can quietly influence many systems in the body, including blood sugar regulation. As we get older, several physiological changes make it harder for the body to maintain proper hydration. First, the tiny water channels in our cells, called aquaporins, gradually become less responsive. These channels help move water into the cells where it is needed. When their efficiency declines, cells may struggle to absorb water even when you are drinking fluids. Second, kidney filtration becomes slightly less efficient with age. The kidneys cannot conserve water quite as effectively as they once did. Third, thirst signals become weaker and slower. This means that by the time many older adults actually feel thirsty, their body has already been dehydrated for quite some time. And fourth, several commonly prescribed medications, especially those used for blood pressure management, can increase fluid loss as part of their normal function. Because of these factors, it is entirely possible for someone to be significantly dehydrated without obvious symptoms. No dry mouth, no dramatic warning signs, just subtle changes inside the body that make glucose control more difficult. Here is why this matters. Even mild dehydration can make cell membranes slightly more rigid. When cells become less flexible, insulin has a harder time signaling those cells to accept glucose. You can think of insulin as a key that helps open a door so glucose can enter the cell. But if the lock becomes stiff, the key cannot work as smoothly. When that happens, glucose remains in the bloodstream longer than it should. and the result is higher readings, even when someone has been careful about their diet and medication. Understanding this mechanism changes how we look at blood sugar fluctuations. Because sometimes the issue is not simply about what was eaten. Sometimes the environment inside the body is not allowing insulin to do its job efficiently. And once you understand that, many confusing patterns start to make more sense. Let me share a simple example. A man I spoke with, Mark, was 72 years old. For years, his fasting glucose had been relatively stable, usually in the low 100s. Then suddenly his morning numbers began climbing into the 170s and 180s. Nothing in his diet had changed. He had not missed medication, and naturally he assumed the condition was simply progressing. But when we looked closely at his daily routine, we noticed something interesting. He was drinking very little plain water during the day. Most of his fluids came from coffee or juice. Once he began adjusting his hydration schedule and increasing plain water intake at specific times of the day, his morning readings gradually began to stabilize again. The food stayed the same, his medication stayed the same, but the internal environment changed. And that made a measurable difference. That is why hydration deserves much more attention than it usually receives. Now let's talk about something practical. Because once you understand why hydration matters, the next question becomes very simple. What are people actually doing wrong? Over the years, I have noticed 3 very common hydration mistakes that many adults make after 60. These habits seem harmless, but they quietly interfere with stable glucose levels. The first mistake is counting beverages like coffee, juice, or flavored drinks as hydration. These drinks do contain water, but they do not behave the same way in the body as plain water. Coffee, for example, has a mild diuretic effect. This means it encourages the body to release fluid. Juice, even natural juice, can raise glucose levels quickly. Tea can be a reasonable beverage, but it still does not replace the role of plain water when it comes to cellular hydration. Your cells need water itself, not simply liquids with additional compounds. The second common mistake is drinking very cold water, especially first thing in the morning. Cold water can cause blood vessels to narrow temporarily. When circulation slows, the delivery of nutrients and hormones, including insulin, can become less efficient for a short period of time. Room temperature water is usually absorbed more comfortably by the body, particularly in the early hours of the day when the body is just transitioning out of sleep. The third mistake is waiting until thirst appears before drinking anything. Thirst is not an early signal. It is actually one of the later signs that the body needs water. By the time thirst becomes noticeable, mild dehydration has often already been present for some time. This means the body spends much of the day trying to catch up rather than staying properly hydrated. None of these habits happen intentionally. Most people simply were never taught how hydration timing can influence the body's metabolic environment. That brings us to something very helpful: structure. Instead of drinking water randomly throughout the day, it can be useful to follow a gentle rhythm. I often describe this as a simple hydration structure built around several natural points in the day. You can think of it as 4 small hydration windows. The first window happens immediately after waking up. During the night, the body goes many hours without fluid intake, and mild dehydration naturally develops. Starting the morning with a glass of room temperature water helps rehydrate the body and supports circulation after sleep. For many people, about 12 to 16 ounces works well in this window. The second window occurs about 30 minutes before a meal. Drinking a moderate amount of water before eating can help support digestion and may also slow how quickly carbohydrates are absorbed. This does not require a large amount of water. Even 8 to 12 ounces can be enough to create a helpful effect. The third window occurs in the middle of the day. Many people experience a gradual drop in hydration during late morning or mid-afternoon. Adding another glass of water during this period can help maintain circulation and energy levels. And the fourth window happens later in the evening, usually 2 or 3 hours after the final meal of the day. This small amount of water can support overnight processes without interrupting sleep. The important thing to understand is that the same amount of water consumed at different times of the day can produce very different effects. Timing helps the body use the water more efficiently. Hydrated blood moves more smoothly through the circulatory system. Hormones travel through the bloodstream more effectively, and cells receive signals in a more consistent way. Another interesting element many people overlook is minerals. Water alone is important, but the body also relies on electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, and magnesium to move fluids in and out of cells. These minerals help maintain electrical balance across cell membranes. Without them, water may move through the body quickly, without fully hydrating the cells themselves. This is why some people feel as if they are drinking water all day, but still do not feel properly hydrated. Sometimes adding a small amount of natural minerals can help the body retain water more efficiently. For example, a small pinch of sea salt or mineral drops added to a glass of water can support electrolyte balance. This does not require large amounts. The goal is simply to support the natural electrical signals that allow cells to absorb water properly. When hydration, minerals, and timing work together, the internal environment of the body becomes more stable, and stability is exactly what helps blood sugar become more predictable. Now, one thing many people notice during the first week of improving hydration is that they need to use the bathroom more often. This is completely normal. The body is adjusting to a different fluid pattern. During the early days, the kidneys may release more fluid as the system recalibrates. But for most people, this adjustment settles within about 10 days. As the body adapts, many people begin to notice something interesting. Energy levels become steadier, mental clarity improves, and blood sugar readings often begin to show less variability, not because anything dramatic changed overnight, but because the internal environment became more supportive of normal metabolic processes. And that is really the goal. Not perfection, not extreme restriction, just a stable foundation that allows the body to function more efficiently. Let me share another example. Elaine, who was 75, had been monitoring her glucose carefully for years. Over several months, her A1C had gradually increased, and she was becoming worried about needing additional medication. When we reviewed her routine, one detail stood out. She was drinking very little plain water during the day. Most of her fluids came from diet soda and decaffeinated coffee. Once she began introducing structured hydration, simply adding several glasses of mineral-supported water during the day, her readings gradually began to stabilize. Several months later, her A1C had improved. Nothing extreme had been added to her routine. The environment inside the body had simply become more balanced. Stories like this do not mean hydration replaces medical treatment, but they do show that supporting the body's basic needs can make existing treatments work more effectively. And that is a powerful concept, because sometimes the most meaningful improvements come from strengthening the foundation rather than adding more complexity. In the next part, I want to explain several common myths about hydration, how seasons like winter and summer influence blood sugar, and how simple adjustments to sleep, coffee habits, and daily routines can make hydration work even better for your body. We will also talk about how to track your progress so you can clearly see the connection between hydration and your daily readings. And some of these connections may surprise you. Now let's clear up a few common myths about hydration that often confuse people. These misunderstandings can prevent people from getting the benefits that proper hydration provides. The first myth is this: if I'm not thirsty, I probably don't need water. In reality, thirst is one of the later signals the body sends. As we age, the brain becomes less sensitive to dehydration signals. This means many older adults may go hours without drinking water simply because they never feel thirsty. By the time thirst appears, the body may already be mildly dehydrated. That's why structured hydration can be helpful. It allows you to stay ahead of dehydration rather than constantly trying to catch up. The second myth is that drinking water near meals interferes with digestion. You may have heard that water dilutes stomach acid and prevents food from being digested properly. For most healthy adults, moderate amounts of water before or during meals do not interfere with digestion. In fact, small amounts of water can support digestive comfort and help food move through the stomach more smoothly. The third myth is that hydration can come entirely from food. Fruits and vegetables do contain water, and they are wonderful for overall health. But for most adults, especially after 60, food alone does not provide enough fluid to maintain optimal cellular hydration. Plain water still plays a central role. Another common belief is that everyone must drink exactly 8 glasses of water every day. The truth is that hydration needs vary depending on body size, activity level, climate, and medications. Rather than focusing on a strict number, it can be more helpful to focus on consistent hydration patterns throughout the day. Now let's talk about something many people do not consider: seasonal changes. Hydration habits often change with the weather, and that can affect blood sugar stability. During winter, many people drink less water because they do not feel hot or sweaty. However, indoor heating systems dry out the air significantly. Dry air pulls moisture from the skin and respiratory system, which increases the body's overall fluid needs. Because people are not sweating, they often do not realize dehydration is occurring. This is one reason many people notice their glucose readings becoming more unpredictable during colder months. It is not always related to holiday meals. Sometimes it is simply because the body has been underhydrated for weeks. Summer brings different challenges. Warm temperatures increase sweating, which means the body loses both water and electrolytes more quickly. During these months, replacing minerals becomes especially important. Without electrolytes such as sodium and potassium, the body may struggle to retain the water being consumed. Water may simply pass through the system instead of entering the cells where it is needed. A small pinch of sea salt in water or trace mineral drops can help maintain electrolyte balance during warmer weather. Another topic people often ask about is coffee. Many adults enjoy coffee as part of their morning routine, and the good news is that it does not need to disappear from your life. However, it helps to understand how it interacts with hydration. Coffee can encourage the body to release fluid. For that reason, it is helpful to drink additional water alongside coffee during the day. For example, if you drink 1 cup of coffee, you might simply add an extra glass of water later to maintain balance. The key point is that coffee should not replace water. Each serves a different purpose in the body. Now, I want to talk about something that surprised many people I've worked with: sleep. Hydration and sleep are closely connected. When the body becomes dehydrated, stress hormones can increase. These hormones influence many systems, including blood sugar regulation and sleep cycles. Poor sleep can then make blood sugar more difficult to manage the following day. This creates a cycle. Dehydration can disrupt sleep. Disrupted sleep can influence glucose regulation. When hydration improves, many people notice that sleep quality improves as well. Better sleep often leads to steadier energy levels and more predictable glucose readings. Everything in the body is connected. Now let's talk about tracking progress. If you decide to try structured hydration, it can be helpful to keep things simple. You do not need complicated technology. A small notebook works perfectly. Each day you can write the date and mark whether you completed each hydration window. You can also record your blood sugar readings if you normally monitor them. For many people, this includes a fasting reading in the morning and another reading later in the day. After 2 or 3 weeks, patterns often begin to appear. You may notice that days with consistent hydration are associated with steadier readings. This type of simple observation can be extremely motivating. It turns abstract advice into visible results. Now, I want to address something important. This approach is not meant to replace medical care. Anyone managing blood sugar should continue working with their healthcare professional. Hydration supports the body's natural systems, but medications and professional guidance remain important parts of long-term health. Some individuals, especially those with kidney conditions or certain heart conditions, may require personalized fluid guidance. In those cases, always follow medical recommendations. For most people, however, supporting hydration is simply about helping the body function the way it was designed to. And when the body receives consistent support, many systems begin to operate more smoothly. In the final part of this video, we'll talk about how to implement this habit gradually, how long it typically takes to see changes, and why simple daily consistency often creates the most powerful long-term results. Now let's talk about implementation, because even the best information only becomes useful when it turns into daily habits. The good news is that improving hydration does not require a complicated routine. In fact, the most successful people start slowly and keep things simple. Instead of trying to change everything at once, begin with one small step. For most people, the easiest place to start is the first hydration window of the day. Tonight, place a glass of room temperature water beside your bed or on your kitchen counter. When you wake up tomorrow morning, drink that water before coffee, before breakfast, before checking your phone. Just that one habit. Continue doing that for a few days. Once that feels natural, you can add the next step. About 30 minutes before one of your meals, many people choose lunch, drink another glass of water. You do not need large amounts. A moderate glass is enough to support digestion and circulation. After a few more days, you can add the mid-morning or mid-afternoon hydration window. Gradually, your day develops a rhythm. Morning hydration, pre-meal hydration, midday support, and a small evening window a few hours before sleep. Building the routine slowly allows the body to adapt comfortably. Many people notice that within about a week, their body begins to expect water at those times. That is a sign that your internal systems are recalibrating. Now let's talk about what you might notice during the first few weeks. During the first week, you may find yourself visiting the bathroom more often. This is completely normal. Your body is adjusting to a more consistent fluid pattern. Within about 10 days, the kidneys and bladder typically adapt, and the frequency becomes more comfortable again. During the second week, many people begin noticing subtle improvements. Energy during the day may feel more stable. Mental clarity often improves. And some people begin seeing slightly steadier glucose readings. By the third week, the body often becomes more consistent in how it responds to meals and daily routines. This is when many people notice that their morning numbers feel more predictable. And after several months of steady habits, laboratory tests that reflect long-term averages may begin to show changes as well. The important thing to remember is that the body responds best to consistency. Small daily actions repeated over time often produce greater results than dramatic short-term changes. Another helpful tip is to make hydration convenient. Keep a reusable water bottle nearby during the day. If possible, mark the bottle with simple measurements so you can see how much you have consumed. You can also place water in locations where you spend time, on a desk, near your favorite chair, or in the kitchen. Visual reminders make healthy habits easier. Some people also find it helpful to set gentle reminders on their phone during the early weeks. A simple notification in the morning or afternoon can help reinforce the new rhythm until it becomes automatic. After a short time, the reminders are usually no longer needed. Your body begins to anticipate the routine. For people who do not enjoy the taste of plain water, there are simple ways to make it more pleasant without affecting blood sugar. A slice of fresh lemon, cucumber, or a few leaves of mint can add natural flavor. These additions do not contain significant sugars and can make hydration more enjoyable. The key is to avoid artificial sweeteners or sugary flavorings, which may influence metabolic responses over time. Travel is another time when hydration routines can easily disappear. Long car rides, flights, or hotel stays often disrupt normal habits. When traveling, it can help to carry a reusable bottle and refill it regularly. Keeping water accessible reduces the likelihood of forgetting to drink throughout the day. Even during busy schedules, maintaining basic hydration can help your body handle the stress of travel more comfortably. Before we finish, I want to speak briefly about the emotional side of managing blood sugar. Many people who have lived with glucose challenges for years feel a quiet sense of frustration. They follow advice carefully. They try to make responsible choices. Yet sometimes the numbers still move in unexpected directions. This can create a feeling that something is wrong with them or that they are somehow failing. But health is rarely that simple. The human body is influenced by many interconnected systems: sleep, hydration, stress levels, activity, nutrition, and medications all interact with each other. When one part of the system is slightly out of balance, the entire system can feel the effect. Supporting hydration is not about perfection. It is about giving your body one of the basic resources it needs to function smoothly. When that foundation becomes stronger, many other healthy habits become easier for the body to maintain. Energy improves, concentration improves, daily routines feel more manageable, and blood sugar patterns often become easier to understand. So here's a simple challenge for you. Try this approach for the next 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. Focus on the 4 gentle hydration windows. Drink room temperature water. Add a small amount of natural minerals if you choose, and observe how your body responds. Do not change everything else in your routine at the same time. Keep your meals, medications, and daily schedule the same. Allow hydration to be the only new variable, then simply observe. Notice your energy levels. Notice your sleep. Notice how you feel during the day. And if you normally track your blood sugar, observe whether the readings begin to feel more consistent. Small changes often begin with simple awareness, and sometimes the most powerful improvements come from supporting the body in the most basic ways. If this information was helpful to you, consider subscribing to the Vital After 60 channel. This community is dedicated to practical guidance for healthy aging, and we share new insights like this regularly. You can also write the word "approved" in the comments if this video gave you a new perspective. I read many of the comments, and it helps me understand what topics are most helpful for you. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.